Q and Review, celebrating 40 years of audio production, welcomes you to this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Sports Podcast, recorded from our studio in the Bishopbriggs Media Centre and by our volunteers working from home. Keep up to date with Q and Review news via our Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, or Instagram at Q and Review. That's @CUEANDREVIEW, or get in touch with us directly by emailing information@qandreview.com. That's INFORMATION @CUEANDREVIEW.com, or by calling us on 0141 772 3979. Please like and share our podcast and give us constructive feedback.
Evening Times Sport, May 7. Uncapped player could be set for Euro Scotland call-up. Report by Ewan Payton. Steve Clarke is reportedly set to name an uncapped player in his Scotland Euro 2024 squad. The Scottish Sun claim Liverpool starlet Ben Doak is in the frame for an unexpected call-up for the major tournament in Germany. The 18-year-old could be on his way to the Euros this summer as a wildcard choice from Clarke. The head coach recently saw his squad for the tournament increase from 23 to 26 players, and Doak, formerly on the books of Celtic before moving to the Premier League giants, is set to benefit. The teenager from Dalry, Ayrshire, has not featured at all for Liverpool this year due to a knee injury picked up in a Europa League match in December. Despite that, he could follow in the footsteps of both Billy Gilmour and Nathan Patterson in making the jump from the national team's under-21s to the A squad. He is yet to be capped at senior level for Scotland, although it is believed he came close last June when Clarke was looking for an alternative in their crucial Euro qualifiers against Norway and Georgia. So it was hoped that Doak would have been integrated before the Euros, but that will not put Clarke off, giving the highly talented youngster a chance. Report by Ewan Payton. Evening Times Sport, May 7. Nick Rodger reports, a game for all as disabled golfers take centre stage. This is the time of the year when the golf writers get to showcase their talents, and I use the terms showcase and talents extremely loosely. But we get onto some of the finest courses in the country during a delightful little run of official media days, which also go by the sobriquet, the shameless freebie. Last week we were at Royal Troon. They are repairing the scars and preparing the court summons as I write. Over the next fortnight, we'll get a clatter about at the Renaissance, Carnoustie, and the Old Course. Such arduous reconnaissance missions ahead of the various championships that will be staged there in the summer are all done with our dear readers in mind, of course. These labours on the links, after all, help to inform our commentary while adding gravitas to our thought-provoking insight, analysis and opinion. What a load of cobblers. I'm not sure what you can glean from this correspondent gratefully halving a hole with my equally erratic playing partner in an 8 to stay 4 down. We both gave each other 20-footers to save any further awkwardness, but it's certainly not bloomin' gravitas. Interestingly, The words of multiple major winner Brooks Koepka, speaking in the aftermath of his victory on the LIV golf series at the weekend, struck a chord with me. He said, "The big thing that kind of separates me is my ability to lock in and go someplace where I think a lot of guys cannot go." It sounded just like the frankly inexplicable destination of one of my startling thwacks with the 3-iron. I can, however, pass on an authoritative piece of sage advice that comes out of these media joints. If you're afraid a full shot might reach the green while the group ahead is still putting out, you have two options. You can immediately shank a layup, or you can wait until the green is clear and top a ball halfway there. Such travails are all part of a golfing life's rich tapestry, aren't they? No matter your ability, however, this fascinating, endlessly flummoxing pursuit is a game for everybody. That all-embracing quality will be to the fore this week at Cardrona near Peebles, when Scottish Golf, the amateur governing body, stages its inaugural Scottish Open for golfers with a disability. The 44-strong field is a come-all-ye gathering full of inspiring tales again and against the odds endeavour. Barry McCluskey, the son of the former Celtic striker George, is one of the world's leading blind golfers, while Preston Pan's veteran Gordon McClay was a caddie on the senior tour before having his leg amputated. Gregor MacDonald has not let cerebral palsy derail his ambition to become a fully qualified PGA professional, while Jacoby White, who suffers from muscular dystrophy, is the youngest entrant at the age of just 10. At every turn, there are heart-warming, heart-wrenching stories. Golf has taken its fair share of brickbats down the years. Some of these withering assaults have been justified. Issues around sexism, for instance, have burdened this stick-and-ball pursuit for yonks. But others, such as the notion that it is riddled with exclusivity, can be the results of lazy assumptions and fusty, cliched perceptions. In many ways, golf is the most inclusive game of the lot. Events in the Borders this week will underline that. The R&A's second G4D Open at Woburn next week, meanwhile, will give disabled golfers a significant platform upon which to demonstrate that physical, neurological, or visual impairment are certainly no barriers to sporting excellence and fulfilment. The well-used observation of yore from the great Bobby Jones about this game being played mainly on a 5.5-inch course, the space between your ears, remains canny advice that can be applied across the golfing spectrum, whether you're Scotty Scheffler, Nelly Korda, or a hapless golf writer like me, who can occasionally 3-putt before I've even reached the flippin' green. For those with a disability, it's very much a case of mind over matter. The work of EDGA, the European Disabled Golf Association, has helped to promote and nurture the disabled game at all levels, while the blossoming G4D Tour, Golf for the Disabled Tour schedule, which runs in conjunction with some of the DP World Tour's biggest events, provides valuable, high-profile exposure and helps to spread this particular golfing gospel. There continues to be major advances in opportunity and, more importantly, attitudes towards golfers with a disability. The incorporation, meanwhile, of the modifications of the rules for disabled golfers into the actual rules of golf at the start of 2023 was another major milestone on the journey towards inclusivity. Life, as we all know, can change in a heartbeat. When Tiger Woods had his frightful car crash a couple of years ago, for instance, he almost had to have his leg amputated. You won't get many more famous, wealthy people than Tiger Woods, yet he could have been within half an inch of losing his leg and becoming a golfer with a disability, said Tony Bennett, the president of EDGA, in a chinwag with this correspondent a year or so ago. Disability is so indiscriminate, he said. For those playing over the next couple of weeks, the competition and the camaraderie, those things all golfers cherish, will continue to provide a great source of pride, purpose, focus and enrichment. Golf truly is a game for all, says Nick Roger. Evening Times Sport, May 8. Glasgow Karate Club heading for World Championships. Report by Aidan MacDonald. A Scotstoun Karate Club is hosting a fundraiser to help send members to a major event in Japan. Japan Karate Shotorenmei (JKS) Glasgow is hoping to send 4 competitors to the association's World Championships in Tokyo on Tuesday, July 23. They will be representing JKS Karate Scotland at the event, and instructor Sean McLaren hopes this fundraiser will help cover some of the costs. He said, 4 people are going from our club, and 35 are going overall as part of Team Scotland. We are hoping to raise £1,000, which will help cover the hotel costs for some of our members. We are holding a race night to raise money, so people will be sponsoring horses that are taking part in that, and there will also be party games in place to help raise funds. The fundraiser is taking place at Yarrow Recreation Club on Anniesland Road in Glasgow on Saturday, May 11th. And Sean opened up on how he became involved in the sport when he added, "We have 4 different venues, Scotstoun, Jordan Hill, Kelvin Hall and Kelvin Dale. The club has been running for 10 years. It is something I have always enjoyed. I never thought I would be teaching it as a job, and now I do 23 classes a week across 6 days. I am very lucky. We are all chipping in to help as much as possible, as it will not be cheap. Flights are around £1,500 during the summer holidays, so it will be an expensive trip. I think between the race nights and the other fundraisers we are doing, we hope to raise the funds needed." Sean's daughter Layla is one of the competitors hoping to travel to Japan. The 15-year-old recently achieved success at the JKS Scotland National Championships, winning 3 gold medals and 2 bronze across various categories. And her grandmother, Anne Marie, who has helped organise the race night, hopes the event will help raise the necessary funds. She added, "We are doing the event in the hope that Sean and Layla can then present Team Scotland with the funding. Yarrow Recreation Club has been very supportive of the night in terms of advertising it and helping us sell tickets. Everyone at the club has worked so hard over the years, and we just want Layla, along with all the other members, to get the opportunity to compete in Japan." Report by Aidan MacDonald. Evening Times Sport, May 8. Invincibles tag off limits for Falkirk and Celtic. Report by Ewan Payton. Teams across the world have been warned to stop using the tagline Invincibles after maintaining an unbeaten record across a season. That's because one of Arsenal's players from the OG Invincibles team secured the branding rights and trademark of the term. So Falkirk, who recently went through their League One title-winning season unbeaten, had better be careful. Jens Lehmann was the man shutting opposition teams out when the Gunners went throughout the entire 2003-04 campaign without losing under the guidance of Arsene Wenger. It's coming up on the 20th anniversary of one of football's all-time great achievements, and the German has plans to celebrate it after forking out £30,000 to gatekeep the slogan. He told the Daily Mail, "I had the idea because the name Invincibles became more and more popular approaching the 20th anniversary. Nobody had it, so I was looking into it. I was ready to get the branding rights for our group, so everybody who's using it is violating our brand. Sometimes you have guys from across Europe, Africa, or Asia who are using it. They could have done that without permission and named themselves the Invincibles, whatever. They can't do it anymore." He's aiming to gather all of his ex-teammates and Wenger into one company so that they can share it together. And he added, "It's easier to get all the members of our group in one company because you have costs and income created. The company gets the revenue, and then hopefully everything is shared. If we have income, we're going to do something for a charity." Of course, Celtic, under Brendan Rodgers, enjoyed an unbeaten campaign during the 16-17 season. They heavily used the term Invincibles as part of their branding to celebrate the achievements of the team. Not only did they win the Premiership title, they won both domestic cup competitions in Scotland that year. They repeated the treble in the following year, and the year after that. However, they have not managed to go a full season unbeaten again. If they do, then they'll know they cannot use the aforementioned moniker they previously did. Report by Ewan Payton. Evening Times Sport, May 8. Brendan Rodgers fires Celtic warning to Rangers. Report by Ewan Payton. Rangers will meet the best version of Celtic this weekend, and that's the message from Hoops boss Brendan Rodgers. The Northern Irishman insists his team is more or less at full strength, as they have their sights firmly set on retaining the Premiership title. A win against their arch Glasgow rivals would all but see them over the line. It would open up a 6-point gap on Rangers with just 2 games of the season left to play. And with injuries now cleared up, and with Dazin Maeda back involved in the starting 11, Rodgers has vowed that Rangers will feel their strength. Speaking to Celtic TV, Rodgers was looking back over last weekend's performance and said, "We came through that really well. We are having a good preparation this week and really look forward to the game. It is important each day to just look after the details in the game, focusing on our own performance That was obviously the last home game for us against Rangers. I said it before, after the last time we played at Ibrox, this game was going to be crucial for us, playing in front of our own supporters. I still feel exactly the same. The preparation is based around ourselves, but always respecting the opponent, what they might bring to the game, but how we play and ultimately our process. I do not think there is any doubt that Celtic are ready. We will arrive into this weekend's game, and this will probably be the best version of the team that I've had since I've been here in this second spell. When you look at the injuries we've had, right the way through, the disruptions, it felt like at last weekend was about there, virtually in player availability and where the team is at, and in terms of fitness as well. I think after another good week of work and concentration on the training field, we will arrive on Saturday as good a place as we have been all season. Report by Ewan Payton. Evening Times Sport, May 8. SPFL agree new title sponsor. Report by Mark McDougall. The SPFL have agreed a deal with a new title sponsor for next season, according to reports. William Hill have been connected to Scottish football for a long time and have previously been the main sponsor for the Scottish Cup. The Scottish Sun report that they have agreed a record-breaking deal to take over from Singe after the car firm decided to end their contract early. Singe had signed a 5-year deal with the SPFL, but decided to end it this season after a lengthy dispute with Rangers. The Ibrox side had refused to display the branding for the company, and the decision to leave early put more pressure on Neil Doncaster. The SPFL chief executive revealed over the weekend, and it is now claimed that it is done with William Hill to take over from next season. Speaking at the weekend, Doncaster had said, "It's never done until it's done. It's been a difficult market, but I would say Scottish football is in a very good place. It is a challenging sponsorship environment. Any of our 42 member clubs would tell you the same. Singe are coming out of the contract this summer, and I am optimistic that we will have a replacement sponsor for the start of the new season." Report by Mark McDougall. Evening Times Sport, May 9. Chasing the American Dream is a lonely experience. Report by Nick Rodger. They often say that the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. That's not the case, of course, if your neighbour's lawn has been struck by the fungal ravages of Pythium blight. For Robert McIntyre, the green grasses of the United States of America have left him feeling decidedly blue. Since upping sticks from the comforts of his home in Oban in an effort to establish himself on the PGA Tour on the other side of the Atlantic, the 27-year-old has found the golfing going tough. Nobody said it was going to be easy. Last week's cut mark at the CJ Cup, for instance, was a ridiculous 6 under, and McIntyre missed it by a shot. It was his 6th early exit in 12 starts this year, during a topsy-turvy campaign that's also included a 6th place finish in Mexico. Personally, the pursuit of the American dream has been a big upheaval for the young Scot. Professionally, there continues to be a lot to learn. For me, it's just the different grasses, he said, as he pinpointed the issues with the detail of a greenkeeper examining a clump of turf. People keep asking me at home, well, what's happening? Why are you struggling? What's happening here? I was not brought up playing a lot of Bermuda grass, grainy grass, and the pitching and putting is just completely different. You've got, say, a 6-foot putt with the grain going the opposite way from the putt. How do you read that? It's all a learning curve, and the courses are all new to me. But I am learning. I'm back to being a rookie. We've been put to the bottom, and we've got to work our way up again. If you've not got your best stuff, well, you're going to be up the road early, and that's just the standard we are playing at. That's fine. I just need to play better. Given that the DP World Tour tends to be as close-knit as a sewing bee, the very different life on the PGA Tour is something that McIntyre continues to wrestle with, and he admits, it does become a lonely place at the golf side of it. When you're on the DP World Tour, it's very friendly. Everyone is together. We're all travelling the world. If we're struggling with certain things, we speak to folk around us. You come out here to the PGA Tour and it's all so unfamiliar. There's less chatting. There are less dinners. There's just less of that big family feel that you get on the European circuit. A refreshing trip back to the old haunts of his Oban home in April was a timely tonic for McIntyre, and he said, I felt I came out a far happier man, because it does get on top of you. It's getting to spend time with people that treat you as Bob the human, and not Bob the golfer. There's very little chat about golf. I meet with friends and they just treat me as a pal that they have grown up with. There's nothing fancy. For me it's all about a work-life balance, but I've not quite worked that out yet over here. The forthcoming PGA Championship, the second major of the men's season, is the next big one for McIntyre, but July's Genesis Scottish Open is scribbled in the diary in red capital letters. Last year, he mounted a valiant final day charge that just about featured a bugle call as he closed with a rousing 64. His approach to the 72nd hole, which set up a rip-roaring birdie, was one of the shots of his life and gave him the clubhouse lead. That pesky Rory McIlroy spoiled the party though, as he conjured a truly world-class finish with a brace of late birdies to pinch the prize by a single shot. Last year was almost a dream come true, reflected McIntyre, who cannot wait to get back to East Lothian for another shot at glory in the star-studded $9 million domestic showpiece. The Scottish Open for me is the biggest event outside of the major championships. For any Scottish guy, it's the one we all want to win, he said. Report by Nick Roger. Evening Times Sport, May 9. Motherwell keeper, a summer transfer target for Celtic. Report by David Irvin. Motherwell keeper Liam Kelly is reportedly a summer transfer target for Celtic. Brendan Rodgers has been credited with interest in the former Rangers player as he prepares for a major overhaul of the goalkeeping department at Lennoxtown. Joe Hart is set to retire at the end of the season, and it is thought Benji Siegrist could also move on to seek game time elsewhere. That means Celtic will require a recruitment drive to bolster their goalkeeping options, with Kelly a transfer target. The Scotland international is out of contract in the summer, meaning he would be available as a free agent, and the Daily Mail report Kelly, who could make the Euros squad under Steve Clarke, is on a list of targets for Celtic in the off-season. However, Kelly could still move down south if Celtic interest fails to materialise into a free transfer move, with the goalkeeper being looked at by clubs in England. The 28-year-old Kelly started his career at Rangers, but never made a competitive appearance for the club. He went on to play for East Fife and Livingston, before a move to Queen's Park Rangers in the English Championship. From there, Kelly would return to Motherwell, initially on loan, before a full-time return to Scotland, where he broke into the national team under Clarke. Meanwhile, Vasilis Barkas has claimed that the COVID pandemic played a huge role in his £4.5 million Celtic transfer move not working out. He said, "It was a move that excited me at the time, but the timing was unlucky, as no one knew that COVID would have the impact on things as it did. I went to another country to play outside Greece for the first time, and due to the situation, players had to be in different changing rooms and stay apart from each other as much as possible. That meant that I was not able to have the connection with my teammates like I had at AEK before I arrived. I was also not able to enjoy the simple things, such as going out for a coffee, as you were not allowed to with the COVID rules. I felt I did not have a period to acclimatise myself to Scotland as I would have liked, which impacted on my mental health and then in my ability to perform as I had before." Report by David Irvin. Evening Times Sport, May 9. Celtic winger to have huge influence in Scottish title race. Report by Matthew Lindsay. Chris Burke has predicted that James Forrest's football intelligence and vast experience will prove invaluable to Celtic during the final cinch Premiership games of the season, and tipped the winger to have a major influence on the Scottish title race. And the former Scotland international believes Forrest has, despite not playing for his country since the Euro 2020 defeat to the Czech Republic at Hampden in 2021, a good chance of forcing his way into the national squad for the Euro 2024 finals in Germany this summer if he does so. The former Rangers, Cardiff City, Birmingham City and Nottingham Forest wideman, who is now the reserve team coach at fourth place top flight outfit Kilmarnock, has not been at all surprised to see the 38 times capped 32-year-old come to the fore in the Parkhead Club's games in the past 2 months. The Ayrshire-born wide player did not make a single first-team appearance in January or February, but he has performed superbly since returning to the fray in March, and has scored important goals against St Johnstone and Dundee in the Premiership, and Aberdeen in the Scottish Gas Scottish Cup. Burke feels Forrest, who has won 22 major honours during the 14 years that he has spent playing for Celtic, will continue to be a danger man for Brendan Rodgers' men in the remainder of the 23-24 campaign, even though he lacks the explosiveness he had when he was younger. Said Burke, "He will have a huge influence. It is great that he has come back in. I played in a similar position to him, so I know he is an intelligent footballer. He does not really rely on his pace. The older you get, you probably lose your pace. Everybody does. But he is so intelligent. He can find spaces. whether it is a 1-2 or a double movement. He has got the quality to finish a shot off left or right foot, or cross left or right foot. Out of possession, he is very good. He has got so much experience, and it comes down to players who have got experience in these situations where you need to win a title. That is probably why Brendan Rodgers has flung him in at this period. I am delighted for him, because he has had a difficult year or so. I think that maybe he didn't fit the system that former manager Postecoglou played, but he is currently showing what a good footballer he is. Burke made 7 appearances for Scotland during his playing days and helped after scoring a double against Bulgaria on his international debut, the national team to lift the Kirin Cup in Japan back in 2006. He has been hugely impressed by the job which his old Kilmarnock manager Steve Clarke has done with his country since succeeding Alex McLeish 5 years ago, and celebrated with the Tartan Army when they qualified for Euro 2024 with 2 matches to spare last year. But he thinks that having a fit and on-form Forrest in the 26-man squad can improve Scotland's chances of getting results in their Group A matches against Germany, Switzerland and Hungary, and reaching the knockout rounds of a major tournament for the first time in their history. He said, "I hope James finishes the season strong. If he does, it gives him the chance to give Steve Clarke a headache. James will probably be thinking along those lines as he goes into the final games. He does offer something a little bit different to what the rest do, and he offers experience. The ones who have been picked have done well, but I do think James offers something a little bit different to the rest of the wingers." Report by Matthew Lindsay. Evening Times Sport, May 9. Kilmarnock expect interest in Watson. Report by Ronnie Esplin. Kilmarnock boss Derek McInnes expects offers for PFA Scotland Young Player of the Year, David Watson. The 19-year-old midfielder came through the Kilmarnock Academy, helping the club to 4th place in the Cinch Premiership and European football next season. Watson came out on top of a shortlist which included Motherwell's Lennon Miller, Dundee midfielder Lyle Cameron, and Rangers winger Ross McCausland to become the first non-Old Firm player to win the award voted by his peers since Scotland captain Andy Robertson was chosen when at Dundee United in 2014. McInnes said, "Is it not just brilliant? What a story it is. A lot of managers speak to me about him. People on the street, supporters from other clubs, they always make reference to David Watson. He is a credit to his family. He is their boy, but we feel that he is ours at the club. He has been around the club for so long. We were so proud when he picked up his award. We were hopeful, but you are never totally confident. The fact that he has been nominated by the Scottish football writers as well is fantastic. I think we should expect speculation about Davy. We should expect clubs to be more than aware of him, bigger clubs than us. That's the way it goes. We would be surprised if there wasn't. He has been a fantastic story for us. He is from the academy, a real flagship player for that. We have signed a few more players since David has established himself in the team. He is a great way for us to try to get boys to sign. We are confident we can keep more young players at Killie. There's a couple in who we have high hopes, but we would like David to hang about a bit longer. As a manager, You want to hold on to your best players as long as you can, but we understand the market, and if there are offers that come in for him, as I would expect, it is something that we would have to look at, but we don't want to lose him. He is a credit to himself. He is only going to get better. He was in good company with the nominees, and to come out on top is fantastic for him. There have been a lot of top players who have won that award and went on to have brilliant careers, and he is another one. Ahead of the trip to 5th place St Mirren on Saturday, McInnes revealed that midfielder Brad Lyons is out for the rest of the season with a hamstring injury picked up at Ibrox last weekend. Attacker Greg Stewart has returned to training this week after his hernia operation and is in contention, while James Balagizi could return from a knee issue. Midfielder Kyle McGuinness remains out long-term, while defender Joe Wright is suspended. Report by Ronnie Esplin. Evening Times Sport, May 9. McIlroy not returning to PGA Tour Board. Report by Martin McMillan. Rory McIlroy will not replace Webb Simpson on the PGA Tour Policy Board after the prospect of his return reopened old wounds. McIlroy was hopeful that he could play a part in speeding up a deal between the PGA Tour, DP World Tour, and Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, PIF, which bankrolls the LIV Golf League. However, the world number 2 has previously said that he and Patrick Cantlay see the world quite differently, and also had an exchange of views with Jordan Spieth, another player director, after Spieth suggested the tour's multi-billion-dollar deal with Strategic Sports Group meant investment from the PIF might not be needed. And although he did not name names when discussing the issue in a press conference ahead of the Wells Fargo Championship, McIlroy referred to a subset of people who were against his return. Said McIlroy, "It got pretty complicated and pretty messy, and I think with the way it happened, I think it opened up some old wounds and scar tissue from things that have happened before. I think there was a subset of people on the board that were maybe uncomfortable with me coming back on for some reason. I think the best course of action is Webb just stays on and sees out his term, and I think he's got to a place where he's comfortable with doing that, and I just sort of keep doing what I'm doing. So yes, I put my hand up to help, and I wouldn't say it was rejected. It was a complicated process to get through to put me back on there. So that's all fine, no hard feelings, and we'll all move on." McIlroy has long been one of the most vocal critics of LIV golf, insisting in July last year that he would rather retire than play on the Saudi-funded breakaway, but has softened his stance on the influx of money from the southern states, PIF, and admits he is impatient to get a deal done. "I think we've got this window of opportunity to get it done, because both sides, from a business perspective, I wouldn't say need to get it done, but it makes sense," said McIlroy. "I sort of liken it to like when Northern Ireland went through the peace process and the Good Friday Agreement. Neither side was happy. Catholics were not happy, Protestants were not happy, but it brought peace, and then you just sort of learned to live with whatever had been negotiated. That was in 1998, and 20, 25, 30 years ahead. My generation does not know any different. It's just this is what it's always been like, and we've never known anything but peace. It's my little way of trying to think about it, and trying to make both sides see that there could be a compromise here. Yes, it's probably not going to feel great for either side, but if it's a place where the game of golf starts to thrive again, and we can all get back together, then I think that ultimately is a really good thing. McIlroy admits persuading American players to contest a more global schedule, and the question of LIV players returning to the PGA Tour are issues which need to be resolved, but believes a deal can be done. And he added, "I'm still optimistic. I think Webb staying on is a really good thing. I think he's got a really balanced voice in all of this, and I think he sees the bigger picture, which is great. My fear was if Webb stepped off, and it wasn't me that was going in his place, what could potentially happen? I'm really happy that Webb has made that decision to stay on and serve out the rest of his term." Report by Martin Macmillan. Evening Times Sport, May 9. Scotland amputee players run to fund Euro trip. Report by Sanja Suresh. A Scotland goalkeeper and arm amputee completed a 26-mile run to raise money for his squad. Stephen Tully from Scotland's national amputee football team ran between 6 of Scotland's most iconic football clubs to send the team to the Amputee Football European Championships. The Hamilton athlete's journey started at Motherwell's Fir Park at 6:30 a.m. last weekend, passing through Hamilton Accies, Celtic Park, Firhill and Ibrox, before concluding his run at Hampden Park. Mr. Tully was not alone in his pursuit. He was joined by his teammate Rob Wilson, a left-back amputee from Dundee, for half the run, with the rest of their squad joining for the final stretch. He said, "The run was incredibly tough. At points I was running through quite busy streets, and by mile 20 everything was hurting. But the thought of the team and going to France was a constant motivation. Everyone dreams of putting on the national jersey and representing their country, but so few ever get the chance to do so. The honour is huge, and we intend to do our nation proud." The National Amputee Squad is part of the Amputee Football Association Scotland, a charity created in 2017 to develop the discipline in Scotland. Ashley Pedersen, Chief Executive Officer of Scottish Para Football and founder of Amputee Football Association Scotland, said, "Stephen did an incredible job in what was a huge physical challenge. To see his teammates rally round and support him was fantastic. Para-football in Scotland is growing at an incredible rate. We have seen the Cerebral Palsy Scotland squad win at the CP World Championships in Salou last month, and now the amputee squad will head to France for the Amputee Football European Championships. I would urge the public to get behind the team and support them." Report by Sanja Suresh. Evening Times Sport, May 10. 4 nominees for Player of the Year. Report by Ewan Payton. The 4 nominees for the Scottish Football Writers' Player of the Year have been announced. Lawrence Shankland has already claimed the PFA Scotland Award, and the Hearts talisman is once again up for this one. He is joined on the SFWA list by Rangers' Jack Butland, Celtic's Matt O'Reilly, and Aberdeen frontman Bojan Miovski. Miovski, who has 24 goals in all competitions for the Dons this campaign, replaces James Tavernier from the PFA nominees. Shankland has 28 goals this term, while Jack Butland is credited with keeping Rangers in the title race, with pivotal saves in big games. Matt O'Reilly has enjoyed his best season to date at Celtic Park under Brendan Rodgers, and his form could well lead to a mega money move abroad this summer. If either Shankland or Miovski wins the award, they will become the first non-Old Firm player to pick it up in 11 years. The last was Hearts goalkeeper Craig Gordon 2 years before that. The Young Player of the Year nominations were also announced. David Watson of Kilmarnock won the PFA award, and he is in familiar company again, alongside Motherwell's Lennon Miller, Dundee's Lyle Cameron, and then Aberdeen midfielder Connor Barron. The SWFA Manager of the Year shortlist is the exact same as the PFA Scotland nominees, Derek McInnes, Tony Docherty and John McGlynn, except Rangers boss Philippe Clement is also in the running. The winners will be announced before picking up their awards at the Scottish Football Writers Association Awards Dinner on May 19. Report by Ewan Payton. Evening Times Sport, May 10th. Hagi set to make rare appearance in Spain. Report by Mark Walker. Forgotten Rangers Lone Star Yanis Hagi is set to come in from the cold at La Liga after not kicking a ball for 2 months at Alaves, and he has been praised for his attitude in Spain by Alaves boss Luis Garcia, despite his loan move from Ibrox not working out. The 25-year-old Hagi is set to return to Rangers at the end of the season, and he still has 2 more years left of his Ibrox deal after former boss Michael Beale extended his contract. He has not featured since the start of March for Alaves and has been an unused substitute for their last 5 games, having failed to score a single goal in La Liga in 18 appearances, although only 6 of those were as a starter. However, Alaves boss Garcia has pledged to use the Romanian international for the 4 remaining games this season, including a match against Real Madrid. He said, "My idea is that everyone in the squad participates until the end of the season. There are people who helped us a lot from the shadows. For example, Yanis Hagi. He has an incredible attitude. The kid has not played for a long time, but he trains with joy, with anticipation and professionalism, so I want to involve him again in the last games of the season." Hagi has not played since he featured for Romania in a double-header of friendlies against Northern Ireland and against Colombia, where he scored. Despite his lack of action, he is viewed as an important player for his country this summer when Romania play Ukraine, Belgium and Slovakia at the Euros. Report by Mark Walker. Evening Times Sport, May 10. Gojic is St Mirren Iron Man, says David Irvin. 6 players have played every single minute in the Scottish Premiership this season. 5 of them are goalkeepers. The other is Alex Gojic. St Mirren boast having 2 players in the ever-present rankings, with Zach Hemming also featuring in every second of the campaign to date. For Hemming and the other 4 goalkeepers, it is no small feat to play every minute. For Gojic to do it is simply ridiculous. The Cypriot defender, who signed a new 3-year deal this week, is the Iron Man in the St Mirren team. Week in, week out, he's always there. And it's in no way down to circumstance that Gojic has been so constant in the St Mirren rearguard. Stephen Robinson has options, but has never been able to overlook the 30-year-old. Gojic's contribution this season, in terms of pure minutes played and performance level, has been superhuman. That's why I confidently branded his new deal as the best business St Mirren will do this summer. But Gojic has been no lone superhero for St Mirren this season, even if he has, understandably, claimed much of the limelight. Forget Avengers Assemble, unless it is into a back 5 at the SMI-SA Stadium, because that is where another unsung hero features. Hemming and Gojic have not missed a minute. Marcus Fraser has only been off the pitch for half an hour. Often underappreciated for the stellar job he has done for a number of seasons now. Vice-Captain America Fraser deserves some praise for his tireless shift in the back line under Robinson. The manager even previously heralded Fraser as his best defender for a significant spell, just weeks after question marks over his future at the club. With that in mind, Fraser is well overdue praise for his performances, even if he is sometimes wrongly beaten over his stable, not spectacular displays. In many ways, his development is a microcosm of St Mirren's improvement as a whole. Alone, he might not be recognised enough, but as a collective alongside his defensive deputies, he's been a top player. To have a settled goalkeeper and 2 centre-backs is absolutely necessary for a successful season, but that's not the end game for St Mirren in the workhorse stakes this term. The final St Mirren player to play more than 3,000 minutes this league term is Scott Tanser. The wing-back has received plaudits for his performances as a fundamental attacking threat on the left flank. On top of his 5 assists and 1 goal, Tanser has proven a more than capable defender, perhaps benefiting from the back 3 offering him more freedom to surge forward. He hammered home at the weekend against Dundee in a crucial victory in the quest for European football. There is no question that St Mirren have benefited from a settled platform this season. Consistency and relationships ever strengthening in the defence allowed the forward players to flourish. That's what Hemming, Gojic, Fraser and Tanser have contributed this season. Much needed stability, not to mention their obvious skill to play in Robinson's system. Evening Times Sport, May 10. Neil Lennon could be back in management. Report by Mark Walker. Neil Lennon could be set for a surprise return to management after entering talks with Romanian club Rapid Bucharest. The former Celtic boss has been out of work since October 2022, when he was axed from Omonia despite leading them to Cypriot Cup glory. Former Hibs and Bolton manager Lennon was linked with the vacant posts at Republic of Ireland and Aberdeen, but Rapid have made him their main target to take charge after an attempt to land 78-year-old legendary boss Mircea Lucescu broke down. It was initially reported Rapid had targeted another former Celtic boss, Martin O'Neill, but Lennon was the man on their shortlist. And Lennon, who won 5 titles as a Celtic player and 4 in 2 spells as Hoop's boss, is believed to be in talks with the ambitious Romanian club, who have lost 7 of their last 8 games in their split in the league and have only 2 games left this season. Rapid Sports Director Daniel Sandu said, "Moving forward, we have to figure out exactly what we're looking for and what we want from both the players and the new staff. At the moment, we are not in a very good place, but I have faith the new management team will reset us and show what Rapid is all about." Lennon also won 3 Scottish Cups and a League Cup as a manager at Celtic, and led Hibs to the Championship title 7 years ago, and has always stressed a desire to return to the dugout in some capacity. Rapid Bucharest last won the Romanian title 23 years ago, but fell on hard times and went bankrupt in 2016, and had to reform in the 5th tier of football before battling back and returning to the top flight 3 years ago. Report by Mark Walker. Evening Times Sport, May 10. Tierney expects to leave Arsenal again. Report by Ewan Payton. Kieran Tierney has admitted that he expects to leave Arsenal again this summer. The former Celtic star insists it would be silly of him to think that the situation had changed for him at the Premier League club, given the amount of competition there is at left-back. The Scotland international was farmed out to Real Sociedad on loan last summer and has enjoyed regular playing time in La Liga. Speaking to The Athletic, Tierney was asked where he expects to be playing next season and if it means his time at Arsenal is over. The defender said, "There is every chance. Look at the squad depth in that position now. They have Alexander Zinchenko, Jurrien Timber, Takehiro Tomiyasu, Jakub Kiwior. 4 players can play there. So if I go back and it's the same as before, then I'm not silly. I know the chances are I will be leaving, but you never know in football. You get the rare case with William Saliba, where he came back after a couple of good seasons out on loan, but you don't see it too often with someone who has played for 4 years, left, and then come back to play again. Stranger things have happened. I could go back and there is a place for me, so I'm prepared for both. You get one career, and you do not know how short or long it is going to be, so you have to try everything and make the most of it. I could see myself playing in Spain or Italy. I love La Liga. It's a great league, and I have enjoyed this season a lot. I don't want to be jumping about to loads of different places though. I want to get used to it and adapt to it so I can kick on." Report by Ewan Payton.
From the Glasgow Times, Saturday, the 11th of May, from the sports section. Treated like a novice, Rodgers unhappy with Celtic critics. Report by Ewan Payton. Brendan Rodgers has hit out at his Celtic critics, insisting he's been treated like a novice since returning to Scotland. Who exactly he's referring to with that remark is unclear. However, speaking after watching his team take a major step towards retaining the Scottish Premiership title, he insists he's not been going through the motions. Celtic defeated arch Glasgow rivals Rangers 2-1 at Parkhead. Matt O'Reilly got to first, while John Lundstrom put the ball into his own net moments later. Cyril Dessers did get one back and provided a much needed lifeline for Philip Clement's men. Lundstram completed a nightmare first half though, by receiving a red card for a horrible challenge on Celtic's Alistair Johnson. Rodgers was delighted with his team's output, despite not taking their multiple second half chances to add some more gloss to the scoreline. Although, the Northern Irishman couldn't help but aim a dig at his doubters from across the 2023-24 campaign. He told the media, "What is every other manager doing if I'm going through the motions? From a personal level, I've been treated like a novice since I've come back here, like it's my first job. However, my principal objective is to make sure that Celtic win. Part of that is a part of the criticism, and I understand that, but it's the mentality of the team that's most important to me. And you can see from where we were, with injuries, how we've progressed, how we stayed unified, how we stayed together, and how we then get to this point where we're nearly crossing the finishing line. We don't just want to cross it, we want to sprint over it. We've got 2 games to go, plus a final, and that is our mentality." In an article written by Ewan Payton. From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 11th of May, from the sports section. Interview: Clement defends Lundstram but admits side not good enough. Article written by Johnny McFarlane. Frustrated Philip Clement admits his Rangers side were not good enough to defeat Celtic in the side's Scottish Premiership encounter at Celtic Park. The Belgian watched his side go 6 points behind in the title race with 2 games to play after a 2-1 loss to Celtic at Parkhead. The loss of John Lundstram to a red card in the first half, shortly after clawing a goal back through Cyril Dessers, was a defining point in the game when the midfielder succumbed to the Derby red mist. And the manager had no complaints regarding the referee's decision, branding the tackle totally unnecessary. He told Sky Sports, "We didn't start well enough, it was not good enough. We gave away too many shots outside the box and there were not enough defensive duels won. We started to play after we went 2-0 down, then we started to do good things. Taking a red card made things 10 times more complicated. That's logical. After the red card, my team never gave up. They kept on fighting until the last second and something can fall out of the sky. We had a few skirmishes. You need efficiency or one guy who makes a difference." Pressing Lundstram's red card, Clement insists that while it was a moment of madness, he will not forget what the Englishman has given the team in recent times. "I have no complaints on the red card," he said. "It's totally unnecessary to make a tackle there, at that moment. Lunny will be the first one to know, and it's a split-second moment of wrong decision-making, but I don't forget all the things he did in the last couple of months." And that article was written by Johnny McFarlane and read by me, Ian McKenna. Green smoke and red mist. Henry Winter's Celtic vs Ranger verdict. By sports writer Henry Winter. This was a day of green smoke and red mist, a game of nerves and then nirvana for Celtic. The final seconds of the Scottish Premiership showdown were unimaginably tense. Celtic had the lead, they had the extra man, and they had the trophy gleaming more in their sights. But some of their players were running through quicksand, and the last few minutes dragged like hours. Rangers, depleted in numbers but not spirit, kept coming back at them, helped by Philip Clement's changes, especially bringing pace out wide. Rangers threw everything at Celtic. Clement's assistant, Alex Ray, sprinted to recycle a loose ball to keep the momentum. Their keeper Jack Butland strode up for a corner. His Celtic counterpart, Joe Hart, withstood the pressure. In front of Hart, the imperious Irish centre-back, Liam Scales, kept defying Rangers, clearing another Ross McCausland cross. Celtic Park was in ferment, and now torment. Their fans cheered in relief as Anthony Ralston eased the pressure, driving down the right, and then dissolved in size as he lost the ball to Ben Davies, and back came Rangers again. By now, Celtic fans were desperately contesting the legitimacy of a throw-in award for Rangers, anything to carry their drained players over the line. So, when the excellent referee, Willie Collum, blew for a final whistle, only the start of it was heard. It was swiftly drowned out by the sound of 60,000 in green and white celebrating. A fan on crutches waved them in the air. Countless others filmed the scenes on the pitch, loving the sight of the vanquished Scott Wright and his haunches, and Ross McCausland lying shattered and broken on the greenest of pitches. They snapped away as Hart strode towards the main stand, blowing kisses to his family as a fan threw a scarf towards him. Hart has done so much for Celtic, still a committed professional at 37, and he will be much missed when he retires this summer. Coaching and family time await. He bows out a winner, fittingly, given how much he has given in his 20-year career. 6 points clear and with 2 games remaining, Celtic surely will be crowned champions now. As Hart headed out of view, supporters leaned over the tunnel parapet and waved him on his way. Their day had worked out, for this was a day of 2 shows, on and off the pitch at Celtic Park. What turned into a momentous day began early. Before 9 AM, the green tide rolled through town, though the barriers at Queen Street Station, young lads, groups of 4 or 5, chattering, excited, knowing what this meant. A woman with a thick green and white scarf, neatly folded, almost caressed in her left hand, waited patiently for those she was heading to the game with. Fathers and sons walked from the station into the sunshine, sharing a memory, a strengthened connection, finding a familiar haunt for breakfast before heading out to paradise. Closer to the ground, green and white gush from Dalmarnock Station, the streams of humanity becoming a river. One had a Tommy Burns number 10 scarf from 1982-83. Another was wrapped in a Celtic Borussia Dortmund half and half scarf. The wardrobe were threads of history. One fan wore a t-shirt celebrating Lubo Moravcik as a gift from God, as fans called him. They haven't forgotten his elegant contributions to the goal-scoring work of Henrik Larsson. Another fan strolled past, shirt off, revealing a large tattoo of a dreadlock Larsson on the nape of his neck. The man himself was here, needing 4 stewards to ease him through the adoring throng outside. When the Rangers bus arrived shortly after, Celtic fans were kept 20 yards back behind the barriers, but certainly made their voices hear. "Get your hair cut, Cantwell," was the most printable. A few offered predictions to anyone would hear. "We will win 2-0, insisted one, because we have the best players, best manager and the best looking fans. Celtic also had the only fans here. The absence of away fans made for a strange atmosphere, still raucous and intense and loud, but self-evidently one-sided, almost like a rally. "Football without fans is nothing," read the famous saying of Jock Stein on his statue that stands guard outside the main reception. And that means away fans too. Celtic supporters certainly played their part backing their team unconditionally. Celtic Park in full voice is one of the great occasions in football. "You'll never walk alone" stretched from before kick-off, over Welling Colm's first whistle, and continued 23 seconds into the game. The fans' tifo, "We will be your strength, fear nothing," read as an exhortation to their players. Inevitably, Callum McGregor was to the fore. Teams need strong leaders, and Celtic's captain led through word and deed, appearing on the right after 35 minutes and releasing the outstanding Matt O'Reilly. And so the on-field show really began. O'Reilly's left foot had already hinted at damage to Rangers' hopes, and his shot whistled past Butland. McGregor immediately ran to the fans, punching the crest on his shirt, shouting, "Come on!" Rodgers, resuming his calm after a wild salute, called his captain over, had a quick confab. Rodgers is so experienced that he knows the vital importance of the manager always retaining his clear-eyed concentration. He had to peer through a cloud briefly. A green flare was lobbed onto the field and smouldered away until Butland eventually went over and threw it away. The smell of cordite in the air, and Celtic had the scent of Rangers' vulnerability. Dyson made a cross, and John Lundstrom, rushing back, diverted the ball past Butland. More flares, more mayhem. But Rangers responded, and Cyril Dessers poached a headed riposte. Then Lundstrom's competitive nature crossed the line. He launched himself at Johnson, catching him on the ankle, a shocking challenge. VAR did the right thing. Colum had a rethink and a yellow became red. Lundstrom's journey to the tunnel was followed by waves of cheerio and more. Celtic should have brought on some calm to the fray, but O'Reilly placed his weak penalty too close to Butland. Celtic became nervous, but held on, and the Green Wave rolled merrily back into town. And that article was by Henry Winter.
Evening Times Sport, May 13. Matthew Lindsay says Glasgow's bigoted bampots could learn from Scotland women's game. Any Scottish football supporter who has had the distinct misfortune to take in a Premier League game down in England in the past has invariably been left with the same lasting impression of the greatest league in the world. The quality on display is, when the top teams are involved at least, undeniably outstanding. But the atmosphere inside the stadiums, it can very often leave much to be desired. At times, it can be downright weird. There are notable exceptions. There are still few grounds in the world, for instance, which can top Anfield for raw emotion and decibel levels during a big match. More often than not, though, the neutral observer can be left asking themselves a question: how can so many people generate so little noise? The cost of tickets to see the likes of Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester City, Manchester United and Spurs is now so expensive, the traditional fan down south is being priced out of attending. Filling seats with prawn sandwich munching corporate hospitality fat cats and overseas tourists might rake in the cash by the bucket load. It does nothing, however, to create a febrile environment. Half and half Liverpool and Manchester United scarf, anyone? That is not an issue. Not to anywhere near the same extent anyway, up here in Scotland. The standard of fare might be inferior to that served up by our southern neighbours. Still, at least, ordinary punters can cheer on their local heroes, goad their opponents, and question the parentage of the referee without needing to remortgage their homes. The Premiership benefits no end from their presence in the stands. Nowhere is that more true than in the Old Firm game, or Glasgow Derby match, if you prefer. The world-famous fixture certainly has its baggage. The odious sectarian chants and vile songs of hate, which always pollute the air when the teams from the East End and Govan do battle, should have been consigned to the dustbin of history an awfully long time ago. More could and should be done to tackle an issue that remains an embarrassment for this country. There is a definite touch of tokenism about the current events. Still, it is undeniable the strength of ill feeling, the sheer venom, the unbridled vitriol, which spews forth whenever the age-old adversaries clash, contributes greatly to an intense and compelling spectacle, which those who run for bigger and wealthier leagues across Europe can, for all their riches, only dream of. It would be a tragedy if the vulgar commercialisation and unfortunate gentrification of the game, which has taken place at the highest level in England in modern times, was to creep into professional football north of Hadrian's Wall. All that said, it was eye-opening, refreshing, even uplifting to attend the Scottish Women's Professional League encounter between Rangers women and their Celtic counterparts at Broadwood last week. The final showdown of the 23-24 campaign between Joe Potter's girls and Elena Sadiku's charges was, with the two teams level in points at the top of the table and only 4 games remaining, billed as a title decider, and a crowd of several thousand filed through the turnstiles to see the action unfold, even though it was being screened by Sky Sports. But fans decked out in red, white and blue sat side by side with those clad in green and white, without a whiff of trouble. The lack of animosity did nothing whatsoever to detract from the occasion. It was an entertaining, tense and enjoyable game for spectators, even if it did finish goalless at the end of the 90 minutes. Those knuckle-dragging dinosaurs who are dismissive of the women's game should have been there. They would have witnessed two sets of technically exceptional, physically committed and tactically astute players giving their all from kick-off to the final whistle. Maya Macaulay, the host versatile teenager, looks destined to become a superstar. It was not all sweetness and light. No sooner had your correspondent finished writing a paragraph which waxed lyrical about the welcome absence of any toxicity from proceedings in his match report, a chubby-cheeked urchin stood up, set off a green smoke canister, and started screaming. There's always somebody who spoils things. Otherwise, though, it was a hugely positive event, one a responsible parent would have no qualms about taking a child along to. Players of both teams stayed long after it was all over to chat to the fans who had been cheering them on, sign autographs, pose for selfies, and do media interviews. There are those who feel football is not really proper football unless fans are segregated by police who are covered from head to toe in Kevlar clothing, so they can maintain order and ensure there are no casualties. I would, having had the distinct good fortune to take in the SWPL match between Celtic and Rangers, beg to disagree. The bigoted bampots who continue to shame both of the Glasgow Giants with their actions and utterances would have learned that you do not need poison and pyrotechnics to have a brilliant day out if they had joined me, says Matthew Lindsay. Evening Times Sport, May 13. Ben Davies leaps to defence of Lundstrom. Report by Matthew Lindsay. Ben Davies has leapt to the defence of John Lundstrom following the Rangers midfielder's costly red card against Celtic on Saturday, and insisted that his teammate had made an honest attempt to win the ball. Lundstrom was ordered off in added-on time at the end of the first half in the Cinch Premiership game at Parkhead for a reckless and needless foul on opposition right-back Alistair Johnston. Referee Willie Collum initially showed the Englishman a yellow card, but he upgraded that to a red after being urged to watch a replay of the incident on his pitchside monitor by VAR official Stephen McLean. The visitors were trailing 2-1 when they were reduced to 10 men, and they ended up losing by that scoreline at the end of the 90 minutes to effectively, if not arithmetically, hand the Scottish title to their city rivals. Rangers manager Philippe Clement, whose men had just pulled a goal back shortly before the flashpoint, stated afterwards that Lundstrom had made a bad decision and was aware he had let the side down. However, centre-half Davis revealed that nobody in Ibrox Club's squad had blamed the former Sheffield United man for the painful loss and stressed they took collective responsibility for the reverse. He said, "John has honestly gone for the ball. He was disappointed in the dressing room afterwards, but we are a team and we stick together. It was a difficult afternoon. I thought we did really well to bounce back and get a goal back straight away after we had conceded 2 goals. Obviously the second half was difficult. We just had to stay in the game for as long as we could and then try and nick something, like we did the last time we were at Parkhead when we were down to 10 men. We created chances and were hoping to get something towards the end and then go from there, but it was not to be. I think it is difficult when you play half the game with 10 men and stay in the game for that long. But I thought that we showed character in the second half, stuck together, and stayed in the game for as long as we could, looking for that opportunity at the end. Davis, who made his first start since December, in the absence of Leon Balogun and Connor Goldson, confessed the narrow loss had hurt the Rangers players and recalled how the dressing room was subdued following the final whistle. However, the former Liverpool player feels the Ibrox club, who take on Celtic again in the Scottish Cup final at Hampden on Saturday week, can take heart from how they battled after they had been reduced to 10 men. And he continued, "There were a lot of tired bodies. I think we left everything out there in the second half, so we let the manager speak. We're going to let it settle and then go from there. Obviously, we are disappointed right now because we have lost the game, but we can take positive out of it for sure. We have left ourselves in a difficult position in the league. When the dust settles though, we will take the positives and look at what we did well ahead of a big cup final." However, Davis is now focusing fully on the Premiership fixture with Dundee in Govan tomorrow evening, an outing which Rangers need to win to keep their slim chances of finishing first in the top flight table alive. And he said, "The Scottish Cup final is in 2 weeks. We have got 2 league games before that, which we need to win. Then we have got a week to prepare for the Cup final." Report by Matthew Lindsay. Evening Times Sport, May 13. Rangers leaked orange shirt update, labelled fake news. Report by David Irvin. The leaked orange Rangers kit has been debunked as fake news. Reports on Monday morning claimed a new orange and blue Castor design would be used by Rangers next season. The shirt, which featured blue cuffs and collar and blue dots, received a mixed response from supporters after being shared by footy headlines. Some furious supporters even called for the deal with Castor to be ripped up over the reported design. However, it is now understood the reports and claimed leaks are wide of the mark. It is thought the leaked pattern and colour scheme are not accurate, and Rangers will not wear that kit as a third shirt for the Scottish Premiership 2024-25 season. It is not clear whether Rangers will use a third kit next season, or indeed what the kit will look like, but the leaked orange shirt has been ruled out as fake. The incorrect leaked design earned furious reviews from fans, even though there were some rare appreciation posts for the bold pattern. Report by David Irvin.
That concludes this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Sports Podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our channels at Q and Review and to tell your friends about our service